The holidays are just around the corner, and now is a perfect time to gather together some friends and family and host a fabulous event in your home. Hi, my name is Julie Frantz, owner of Everyday Etiquette, and in the next 3 sessions, we are going to cover practical tips and party ideas on how to host a fabulous event, enjoy your own party, and really entertain like a pro. Craig Claiborne said, "Sharing a meal is one of life's greatest pleasures," and I could not agree more. We have just gone through a time where there's been a lot of isolation, and I think it's time that we again think about lonely people, people that have been isolated, and we reach out to them and plan on having them come into our home during this holiday season. Entertaining has almost become a lost art, and there's many reasons for it, some of them valid and some of them, well, we can overcome them. So let's take a look at 3 of the most common reasons people don't entertain today. The number 1 reason is, I just don't have time. I'm so busy, I just don't have time. Well, the truth is, we make time for what is important to us. And again, I feel like we live in a society where this needs to once again become an important part of our life. Mother Teresa said, loneliness is the leprosy of our day. And so again, think about people that are lonely and who you can reach out to. And then when it talks about time, you do not have to do an extravagant 2-course, 3-course meal. Literally, you can do hot dogs, s'mores, around a bonfire outside. Very simple. The whole idea is, what do you have time for? And then let's figure out how you can entertain within that time constraint. The second reason people say they don't entertain is because I don't know how to cook or I'm an awful cook. Once again, that can be easily overcome because on every corner you will find a grocery store that has a fabulous deli department. And that deli department can fix you appetizers, main course, and dessert. The trick is, when you get it home, take it out of their containers and put it into your own personal casserole dishes. Make sure you throw them away in the outside garbage so nobody sees any evidence. And should somebody say, the main course was delicious, can I have the recipe? You simply smile and say, oh, it's a family secret. And that's the truth. It is a family secret. And the third reason is, people say, there's no way I could entertain because my house is a disaster. Well, I know that sometimes entertaining people is a good reason for me to clear clutter, to get projects done, and get my house in order. I'll also suggest that entertaining, again, can be done on different levels. And when you have people into your home, or maybe you're going to just do something in the backyard this fall, you don't have to have your entire home cleaned. Should somebody ask for a tour of your home, you merely say, if you don't mind, maybe next time you're over, I'm happy to give you a tour. So the areas you should have clean, though, and organized would be the guest bathroom. Chances are they will use the guest bathroom. Your entryway when you greet them. And the kitchen, because they will come and mingle in your kitchen area. And if you're having them in the dining room, then the dining room area. Otherwise, don't worry about the rest of your house. Just clear clutter. And if your windows haven't been washed for a year, just make sure you entertain after dark, close the blinds, and have lots of candles placed all over. So just about all excuses can be eliminated. It's just time that we move ahead and decide, let's host a gathering in my home. Any great gathering involves 3 key elements, and we're going to cover these in each of the 3 segments. So this segment, I'm going to cover the people involved in planning and hosting a great event. Those people include you, the host and hostess, and the guests that you invite. So let's start with you, the host and hostess. I have gone to events where the hostess met me at the door, exhausted. She said she had been up till 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get everything just perfect. We don't want you to go through that. And I felt so guilty being there and causing her to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning. That's not the point. You know what guests are looking for? They're looking for a happy, hospitable hostess and host that is really pleased to see them, and plenty of food. They're looking for connection. And so as a host, it is more important that you please people than you impress them. And I know that we watch all these television programs where everything is just so perfect and we think, oh, I would love to do that. But the reality is, it would take a huge group of people to pull that off. So you've got to figure out, what is my style, what do I feel comfortable about, and how can I be ready and yet refreshed to really enjoy the people. Now we're going to go through a list of what it looks like to be the hospitable host. So the hospital host decides, first of all, what kind of party she's going to have, and then she's going to send the invitations. The invitations, again, will set the stage for what you are going to be hosting and what the guest can expect. When you do invite people, and if you do it by phone, don't call people and say, "What are you doing Saturday night?" That's a loaded question. They don't know, am I being invited for dinner, or am I going to babysit your grandchildren? So you always say, "Hi, this is Julie. I'm putting together a small dinner party the 24th of October, and I'm wondering if you and Fred might be available." That gives them the information to decide yes or no. So again, your invitation, you're going to make sure that you let them know what the event is. When you invite people and then they call back and say, "Yes, I will be there," always ask the guest, "Do you have any food restrictions I should be aware of?" Do not say, "Do you have any diet restrictions?" because the guest could think, "Are you implying I should be on a diet?" and be offended. So we just say, "Do you have any food restrictions I should be aware of?" That way you can incorporate that into your menu planning. Then you will be ready. You'll have everything ready. I like to have everything in place, things just heating up or whatever, so that when that doorbell rings, I can go to the door and welcome them. This is so important. I feel like this is what people overlook, is that they're so obsessed with what's going on in the kitchen that their guests ring the doorbell, stand out there, and nobody's coming to greet them. Or sometime a child will run to the door, throw the door open, and the guest is still left standing there wondering, "Do I come in or what?" So we go to the door, we open it, we welcome them. If they have a coat, "Here, let me take your coat. Come on in." Shoes are sometimes a question. Do we ask guests to take off our shoes? When there are children, certainly it's okay to ask children to remove their shoes. But as an adult guest, you're kind of asking them to undress a little bit. And so in order to keep people comfortable, I always just say, "Oh, please don't worry about that." And I provide an outside rug, an inside rug, so people can wipe their feet off. Now, should it be very inclement weather, lots of snow, then I always will wear snow boots over to an event, remove those, and then put on what I call house shoes. So again, if you are going to ask guests to remove their shoes, let them know in advance so they can bring a different pair of shoes, or make sure they're not arriving with holes in their socks. That will make them feel very uncomfortable. So once you take their coats, they've wiped off their shoes, then you lead them into the area where we're going to have drinks and something to eat. Guests always need something to do. It's kind of the time where you first get there and you feel a little bit uncomfortable, and so we want right away to put them at ease. So if they're the first guests, again, my husband and I will greet them, we'll ask them an opening question, and then we say, "What would you like to drink? I have many things that I'm offering today. I do have a harvest punch over here, and I have a coffee, wine bar," and you kind of give them a plethora of options on what they can indulge in. Give them something so that they can get it in their hand. That kind of helps people be at ease. And then I always have set out some sort of appetizer. This always gives me grace, so that if I do have a couple things that are still cooking, people won't starve. They'll have plenty of things that they can nibble on. And as a guest, we'll talk about that too, you always want to make sure you use napkin plates. Don't just park here and start eating off of here. You want to transfer things and then move away from the table. So we've got our guests. Then when more guests arrive, I make sure that they know the other guests. I introduce them. I get them started in a conversation. I will give them what we call kind of introduction information, where I will say, "I'd like you to meet George. He's our neighbor that lives next door." So then when you meet George, you can say, "Oh, well, how long have you lived here? You know, have you always been a lifetime resident of Forest Lake?" And it gives people something to kind of jumpstart their conversation on. Allow all your guests to arrive. If you are having a cocktail hour for, 1 hour and then you're planning on serving dinner, then wait only 15 minutes for late guests, but then begin. Because two things are going to happen. Your dinner will be ruined, and then your other guests are going to be starving. So once everybody's here, they've been settled, they've got drinks in their hands, they've had some food, now it'll be time to move them into the dining room. In the dining room, I have taken special care to place my guests in a situation that will invite conversation. And so I will use place cards. I will only set out at the table those things that we're going to be using. You give people false hope if you set out for a 6-course dinner and all you're doing is serving 2 courses. So only put out what you are going to use. Centerpieces and candles, we'll talk more about those, but again, they should look inviting. When they go into the dining room, it should be a delightful surprise. As the hostess, during the meal, you're constantly watching, making sure everybody has plenty of water, making sure everybody's getting a chance to talk. View it as you are the cruise director. And so you're going to keep things moving and kind of on a happy note the entire evening. When the dinner is done, you as the hostess signal that by taking your napkin, wiping off your mouth, your fingers, placing it to the left of your place setting, and then inviting guests. We're going to go into the sunroom for coffee. By the way, if you do have pets, I know a lot of us have pets, remember, not everybody is crazy about pets. So do a courtesy to your guests. Put them away as guests are arriving and even during the event. We always do that, and sometimes our guests will say, where's your dog, Kitty? Well, she's put away. And if they want to see her, and they're the only ones that we're entertaining that night, then certainly that's okay. Otherwise, just be very aware of people and what they could feel uncomfortable with. So in essence, you as the hospitable host, it is your job to please people more than impress them. It is your job to make them feel welcomed and at home and to have plenty of food that they leave with really feeling like they had a bountiful experience. The second part of the people component is the guests that you invite. Now, the idea is to bring together a mix of people that have some things in common, but also can create interesting conversation. Conversation is a huge part of why you bring people together. So again, think about people. How will they get along? Well, there'll be some maybe interesting sparks, but not get out of control, but yet something that'll be a very entertaining evening for everybody. So as a guest, you have many obligations. The first one being that when you receive the invitation in the mail, you are to respond within 24 hours. RSVP stands for Répondez s'il vous plaît. It means respond if you please, and you should quickly check calendar, check with people, and get back to them either yes or no within 24 hours. Now, we have a huge problem in our society where people will call and say, oh yes, I'll be there, and then they will bail that morning. Very, very rude. This hostess has gone through a tremendous amount of work, and the rule of etiquette is only death or a severe illness should keep you from attending. Certainly, if you are ill, we don't want you there, but we have people bailing with excuses that are extremely flimsy. So treat that invitation as a great obligation. And also, a lot of people don't realize this, that when you do accept an invitation, you have an obligation to return that in some form, reciprocate, within a couple of months. When you get the invitation, make sure it is very clear. Are my children included or are they not? Here's what you look for. If on the invitation it says Mr. and Mrs. Gary Frantz, it means Mr. and Mrs. Gary Frantz. If they want your children, they'll list the children and family. So please don't try to show up with your children, or we have a problem, people showing up with their dogs, their pets. That's ridiculous. Keep your pets at home. They're already going out of their way to invite you into their home. Please don't bring additional burdens of a pet. So once you have accepted that, then if your host or hostess do not ask if you have food restrictions, and you do, we have many individuals that right now are gluten-free or whatever. If they don't ask, you need to tell them, because they will feel very bad if you arrive and everything they have made you can't eat. They'll feel awful. And so it is your obligation as a guest to tell them, I don't want you to do anything special for me. In fact, I'm happy to bring an extra dish, but I am right now, unfortunately, on a gluten-free diet. And then make sure you do show up with that dish. If you are bringing a dish, or you've asked, can I bring dessert, can I bring a salad, there's not a need for a hostess gift, because you are kind of bringing a gift. But don't show up with food that you have not let the hostess know you're going to bring. And certainly don't expect her to serve it, because it might not flow with the rest of her menu. But you should not arrive empty-handed. You should arrive with some sort of a gift. And it can be flowers, but if it's flowers, they should already be in a vase. Because if you just hand her a bouquet of flowers, she's going to have to find a vase, cut the ends, pour the water, figure out where to put it. You're causing commotion. She doesn't need that. Have it all ready for her to set somewhere. If you know they love coffee, bring a hostess gift of coffee. Could be candles, or it could be even some sort of chocolate, whatever you think that hostess would really like. Once it's time for dinner, you wait until the hostess tells you where to be seated. You are seated, you use excellent table manners. We'll cover that in one session. And during the dinner, you say something positive about the food, conversation, the home, something, but just make sure that you express your appreciation and you say something positive. And make sure that you're not a party pooper. If you've had a fight with your spouse, you better leave that beyond the front door, and both of you arrive letting that go and being just very congenial, great guests and joining into the party atmosphere. When it is time to clear the table, when guests, people have finished, you'll watch the hostess. As a guest, do not jump up and start scraping plates. I know, women, it's just instinctive we do that. But again, my job as a hostess is to let you relax, and I will take care of you. So if the hostess gives you a look and says, please be seated, your job is continue the conversation while the hostess clears up, and then just be seated. At the end of the event, when you are picking up cues, and typically you should stay 1 hour after the dinner has been finished and the table has been cleared, so it doesn't appear that you're just eating and running, and then pick up on cues when it is time to go. If the hostess says, last call for the bar, if she does start to kind of put things away, those are cues. She's tired, she's ready for you to go. And then say, it's been a delightful evening, get your coat, and leave. And again, we do Minnesota goodbyes here. I mean, they can drag out for 15 minutes, but don't delay too long, because if they have other guests to say goodbye to, they need to attend to them. So once you say you're leaving, let's go, get your coat, let's go. And then within a day or two, send a handwritten thank you note. This person's gone through time and effort, expense, and again, as the hostess, they haven't told you that, but you know that, and so you're going to take 5 minutes, and write a handwritten thank you note. So that's the first segment. Is the first component of any great gathering is putting together guests and yourself to host a great gathering and enjoy their company and conversation. Thank you so much for watching today. This is part 1 in a 3-part series. So how to host will have 3 parts, 2 more to come. So I invite you to continue watching this YouTube channel and make sure that you like it. Thank you. I'd like to invite you to share the gift of good manners by giving a copy of my new book, A Daily Dose of Good Manners, to family, friends, and of course a copy for yourself. This perpetual calendar offers daily reminders on how we should treat others, along with current rules of etiquette and how to behave in various social situations. It's now available online at Amazon. Just click the link below or go to my website, everydayetiquette.com. Thank you.